Hello and welcome to the Heroic Review, where the cast and crew of Heroic Tale of Heroically Heroic Heroes discuss and opine on all things pony. My name is BrainedbySaucepans, and I narrate the Heroic Tale as well as providing some artwork, and I will be moderating our discussion today. Joining me are Goombasa.
Hello, everybody.
Greg.
Hello all, may the pony be with you.
Illya Leonov.
Good day, everyone.
Webshotter.
Hello, everyone.
And we also have Scribbler.
Hello.
And her beau, Reverb Brony.
Hello, everyone.
Today we shall be looking at the Cutie Map, the two-part opening of Season 5 of My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic. We've had quite a wait, but now Pony is back. Let's start with everyone's opinion on the episode. Shall we start with Greg?
Oh, put me on the spot, why don't you? Well, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was probably one of the better season premieres we've had. Although it did suffer from a stunning lack of a certain Draconiquist, thank you very much.
Good point. Webshotter?
Holy freaking smokes. Oy. That was awesome. Shoot, I agree. That was one of the better two-part openings, and chills throughout the whole thing.
Reverb?
I thought it was really quite good as well. I don't think it was as good as some of the other season openings, to be honest. Just my opinion, though. I thought it was really quite interesting and really quite bold, some of the choices they made for some of the themes.
Definitely. Illya?
I feel a little bit like Jason. I thought it was a bold theme to attack. The only thing that I didn't like about it, and probably no one else shares this opinion, is I thought it was a bit long. I'm not certain it should have been a two-parter.
Fair point. Goombasa?
Well, I thought this was fantastic. I love the villain. I loved the theme. I loved the episodes. It felt so different from the season openers that we've had in the past, which I really, really appreciated. And of course, this is a big shocker to everybody that I liked the episode.
Yeah, what a surprise. Would it kill you to be cynical for once, old chap?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll just try to be more cynical next week.
Good man.
He needs a thorough injection of British food.
And Scribbler?
Welcome, Conrad, to the Soviet Unicorn.
All hail glorious Soviet unicorn.
All hail the Soviet Unicorn. In great Twilight Glimmer, was it? Twilight Glimmer?
Starlight Glimmer.
Starlight
Glimmer. Grand Tsar of Soviet unicorn.
All hail, all hail.
Indeed.
All right, bring in the World War II bombers.
As for my own opinion, I thoroughly enjoyed this episode, and I think this has actually become my new favourite season opening.
And why would that be?
Because it was delicious. I absolutely adored it. One of my favourite tropes is the idea of overly saccharine environments hiding something sinister, and just the way that was conveyed worked absolutely beautifully in this episode, in my view.
I must admit, it was a lot darker than others, considering the way that some other season openers have gone. Thematically and just from a storytelling perspective, this one was a hell of a lot darker. It was psychological.
Exactly. I think that's what it was really that's grabbed my attention and made me fall back in love with ponies again.
I'm going to have to say that this was almost on par with, well, I'm probably saying the wrong thing, but I want to say it's almost on par with the season finale of season 4, where it got as dark as it did, but I could be wrong.
I'd say darker myself, actually.
It's darker in a different way. It's a more psychological,
in a more realistic and relatable way.
Exactly.
Yes.
Season 4 was dark in a real sort of epic end of the world kind of way. This is more single person torturous sort of way, especially, holy crap, when they actually picked out Fluttershy to rat out the individual ponies. Wow.
That was a fantastic cliffhanger to go to an ad break on. That was well done to the writers there.
Spoilers, by the way.
I think we're spoilers from the very beginning. I'll just stick spoiler warning on the start.
Warning to everyone, if you haven't watched the episode yet, we are going to be spoiling quite a bit of it, so please be prepared for that.
If you haven't watched the episode yet, why the are you watching a review of it?
Well, they might just be that devoted fans of yours, Scribbler.
And of yours, epic voice narrator man.
Is that all I am to you?
How do you know I wasn't talking to Illya?
Yeah.
I think everyone must concede Illya's supreme majesty in that area.
I don't know, I think I'd like to have a narrate-off between you two.
Well, we're getting off topic now, though, and as I'm moderating, I should probably make some attempt to keep us on topic. I'm the only one allowed to take us off topic in this. Keep that in mind. Let's open it to general discussion. What did people particularly enjoy about this episode, then? Goombasa, go for it.
I just really enjoyed it because, like I said, this is a very different season opener than what we've had before. And I think that is mostly down to the villain and what she is trying to accomplish in this story. Because in every other season opener, in every other two-parter that we've had, it's always been some sort of massively powerful eldritch creature that has had a lot of power behind them. But this is just an ordinary pony who happens to be very, very manipulative and knows exactly what she needs to do in order to get what she wants.
Indeed, I think that is definitely one of the strengths of the episode. The villain was absolutely fantastic, and I think Scribbler's got something to say on that.
I just thought that it was interesting that she was almost like the antithetical Twilight. She was the way that Twilight could have been, especially with that little conversation at the end where she said, I studied that spell for years, how could you just get rid of it? She looked a little bit like Twilight. She has a vaguely similar colour scheme, and her viewpoint, her name, hence I got it wrong in my little failed joke opening. Just her approach is, she is more powerful than everybody else, therefore she knows what's best for them all. That's pretty much the way Twilight was in Return of Harmony, the Nightmare Moon episode?
Friendship is Magic. That was the name of the two-parter.
Well, that was the way Twilight was at the very beginning, when she came to Ponyville and expected everyone to just listen to her because she knew best, because she'd studied. That's Starlight Glimmer. And she's almost like, this is the way that Twilight could have gone if not for experiencing real friendship.
I honestly didn't pick up on that, but now you've mentioned that, I am seeing that a lot.
I suppose it'd be interesting to actually compare this character with Sunset Shimmer, because they both had that Twilight Sparkle could have been this character's sort of vibe to them.
Greg, if you want to go?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, in regards to this episode, especially in comparison to others, what impressed me was the scale of it. Because all the other premieres, finales have been these huge, grand scale events. But this brought very, very much down to a personal level. So despite what actually happens to our characters being very similar to what happened in the finale of season 4, it feels darker this time, if that makes any sense.
Illya, do you have something to say?
To me, it might have had a grander scope than some of the other ones, simply because the fact that it showed how ineffectual Celestia's omniscience is. There's an actual cult of ponies, an entire town with a cult of ponies that she apparently has no sway over. And that was dark to me. That's what impressed me.
Yeah, that actually, you're right. I hadn't thought of that.
In every light, there's always a shadow.
Definitely. Goombasa, did you have something?
We kind of moved past it, but Starlight Glimmer. The reason why I think I didn't see the comparison between her and how Twilight could have been was because she obviously has a lot of confidence in herself in how she talks to other people. They made it clear throughout this entire two-parter that she basically converted all of these other ponies, at least the first few, by just talking to them, by selling them her worldview, and convincing them to willingly give up their cutie marks.
True cult-type mentality.
One thing I personally really liked about this villain was how long it took for her facade to drop. Because even when she was taking away the main six's cutie marks, she still had this air of, I'm doing this for your own good. It was almost, she was almost selling it that she really believed it. And I think it's a bit of a shame that drops towards the end, to be honest.
Although she did keep saying that, though.
You know what I reckon would have been really quite cool? If her cutie mark actually was an equal symbol. Hers genuinely was the equal symbol, and that her true dark talent was that everyone should be equal under her rule, and that is what her power was. Although I suppose it would need a different reveal.
I think that would make her less villainous.
I think so, yes. It would have definitely robbed us of a denouement, though.
But that, we don't know what they're setting her up for later, because there was that moment at the end, the setup for seeing her again. And if we have that, we don't know what they're planning to do with her, with the fact that her talent apparently is also magic.
I'm trying to think of what else they could do, unless she's somehow teamed up with Trixie.
Oh, that'd be amazing. Oh no, Trixie's reformed.
Yeah, I was going to say that might not happen. Or if anything, if it does happen, it'll be because Trixie got tricked.
Maybe this is how we're going to get Scorpan.
Well, I know it would be great if Trixie was somehow the savior of the situation when they met. And then that would sort of bring Trixie into the light.
That would be awesome. That would work out really well.
That would be amazing. Yeah. if we got an episode where they go to a place and Trixie ends up saving them. It'd be amazing if we just went to different places for every episode in the season. The main six never saved the day. It was always the ponies in the village they go to.
That might happen.
Actually, it could realistically happen because they're teaching him friendship to save themselves and be stronger and all that sort of stuff.
Because as soon as you brought that up about Trixie being the savior, I thought to myself, oh wait, we had different saviors in this episode, which was another big difference. Because in every single other two-parter, it has always been on Twilight to save the day. Always. The others might have had something to do with it, but Twilight was always the instigator. She was always the one who was the first to realize what was going on and sort of start that march towards victory. Here, though, well, the entirety of the main six definitely helped in teaching the others about friendship. They had to rely on ponies that they just met to save their cutie marks.
Also, they had to rely on Fluttershy.
Definitely. I do think that is definitely a sign of the development of Twilight's leadership abilities and her being a princess to heart, because she can't always be the one who saves the day. A big part of leadership is relying on other people and knowing when it's better for you to step back and let others who are better equipped to actually take that role.
She's becoming Celestia.
She's becoming Celestia.
She did still seem a little bit uncomfortable when ponies there started to point out that she was an alicorn too. Though that might have just been down to those big "hello, I'm going to eat you" grins.
Yeah, that was pretty much it. But if anything, didn't Twilight already kind of learn that lesson in the Crystal Empire arc?
Yes, she learned it, and now she's applying it. That's what we're getting to.
Yes, I think it does seem to me like a bit of a paradigm shift in terms of the writing, in that the writers have now got more comfortable with the role of Twilight as a leader rather than Twilight as the protagonist.
I like that.
And I'm looking forward to seeing where they go with this from now. Greg, you had something to say?
Yeah, her delegation, the notice that she'd already learned that lesson in the Crystal Empire, brings to mind something else I remember reading, something to do with not learning lessons all at once. It's a slow, gradual process. This is reinforcing the lesson she's already learned, and that's going to help her eventually become to be, I think, a stronger princess for it.
Yeah, it's just on the issue of Twilight Sparkle not saving the day. Did it seem to anyone else that this episode had the most badass OCs and background ponies we've ever seen?
Party Favor is best pony.
Yes.
Definitely. Oh, yes. Party Favor so much. Double Diamond's okay, but Party Favor blew him away.
Who was the Pegasus?
I don't remember, but one thing I liked about Party Favor was he's played by Sam Vincent, who's from used to be in the Ocean
I thought
group.
I recognized that voice.
Yeah, he's like a huge voice actor from my childhood and early years. That he was in Card Captors and
wasn't he in Ed, Edd and Eddy?
He was Double D.
Oh, nice.
He was Double D, yeah?
He's been in it before. He's Flim.
Oh, really?
Oh, okay.
I went and looked on this on IMDb before we started.
Probably a sensible thing to do.
Wasn't he also a voice actor for Soren, or am I thinking of someone else?
You're thinking of someone else. He's not Soren. He's definitely Flim.
But Soren's VA, I think, was also in Ed, Edd and Eddy.
Might well have been. It won't have been Tony Sampson, though, because he works on an oil rig now and gave up voice acting.
No, it was the Single D Ed.
We'll call him Single D Ed VA, and he shall be our Single D Ed VA.
I think that was Matt Hill is his name.
Yes, Matt Hill.
Yes, thank you.
So, yes, basically we're having as much of a reuniting of Ed, Edd and Eddy voice acting team as is possible when one of them is in the middle of the North Ocean.
Well, we had Kevin in an earlier season, so there we go. On the subject of voice acting, too, I wanted to point out that back in our Season 4 opener review, when we looked at that, we called attention to the fact that some of the voice actresses for the main six sounded like they were trying to get back into the role, like they sounded a little bit off. But in this two-parter, I saw no such problem. I mean, everybody sounded really on point, really in character. It was just fantastic all around in terms of voice acting.
I have to agree with you there that I never thought at a single point in the episode, wow, the performances here are a little bit off. In fact, I was admiring some of the performances.
This is probably one of my favourite instances of Pinkie Pie, actually. I didn't like a lot of her actions in Season 4 and the way they wrote her a lot, but actually I quite liked her in this.
Eating all those muffins!
Deadpan Pie.
Oh, poor Pinkie
It's
Pie.
amazing how much, when you remove her cutie mark and her sense of humor, she's so similar to Maud.
Yes!
Which is actually really, really brilliant.
That's really good writing. Even if it was accidental, that's good writing.
There was a fantastic line. The laughs don't come in barrels.
Yeah.
What was the rest of that?
They come from inside you as a reaction to delight.
Totally deadpan. Oh my god, it was amazing.
But the real loss and tragedy of them all losing their cutie marks was that Applejack could no longer make countryisms.
Since when was that her special talent? I had thought it was apples. Like, suddenly, apparently...
That drove me nuts.
So anybody who farms apples needs to be able to do countryisms. Apple farmers of the world, you're doing it wrong!
They also apparently need to be able to kick really hard.
Yep.
I think it's, if you want to be Applejack, you have to be able to do countryisms, because that's part of what makes her who she is.
Shouldn't she have a cutie mark with apples with a hat on, then?
I have a slight theory on that. If anything, it's not so much as that she couldn't make countryisms anymore because she lost her cutie mark. If anything, the cutie mark, as was pointed out, cutie marks are representations of that special part of the individual. So if anything, because her mark was missing and her talent, I guess apple bucking, was gone, it felt more like a good chunk of her just went missing because her cutie mark got taken away.
So it's an intrinsic part of her personality.
And I see it as the cutie marks being an intrinsic expression of the pony's individualism and who they are. And Greg, you have something?
Yes, basically what you just said, I view the stealing of the cutie marks in this and in the season 4 finale is, in my mind at least, the cutie mark is a representation of the unique internal magic of the individual pony. So it's their abilities, their talents, everything that makes them who they are. If you steal that, it's a huge chunk of what made them them.
The season three finale is what I was also referring to in a way when I was talking about the cutie marks, because in the cutie mark mix up, when Twilight used that spell on the elements and it mixed everyone up, everyone's personality was slightly altered just a bit.
Goombasa?
One thing that I noticed in terms of everybody losing their special talent and everybody being equal, that was especially creepy to me, was every single stallion and every single mare in that village looked exactly the same, had the same mane style, had the same body type, and after they got their cutie marks back, you saw their manes become more individualized, and their coats actually seemed to brighten a little bit. It looked to me like they were so obsessed with being as equal as possible that it almost seemed like the color was draining out of them.
They were limited. They were being limited by the cutie mark removal spell. That's how I saw it.
Well, not even just limited, but during that whole song sequence, you see Starlight Glimmer looking at one mare who doesn't have the same mane style, and she magically adjusts her mane into the pigtail style that all the other mares have.
Scribbler?
There was a tiny bit of the throwaway joke where one of the stallions was sitting in a barber's chair, so it wasn't the spell that did it. And also, I keep wanting to call her Sunset Glimmer, and it's not right. Starlight Glimmer, during her song sequence, she takes that mare's mane and ties it into plaits.
Also,
so this is something that has been manually done.
But then was magically fixed when they got their cutie marks back somehow.
And I wanted to add to that as well. Also, during the song, there was a couple instances where, like, one of the ponies was dancing in a different way to the other ones, and she would sort of approach them and go, and afterwards, they would all be dancing in the exact same way, sort of.
It was a force of personality rather than a force of magic.
Yeah.
Definitely. It did come across as definitely enforced conformity. The sort of thing you do get in sort of a cult, which is pretty much what they were portraying here.
Yeah, she is eerily similar to actual cult leaders. The charisma, everything. That's what made it really creepy for me.
It was a cult of personality, if you'll pardon the pun. But yes, one of the things that did strike me as well was the way it was a sort of combination of the previous threats we've had. We had sort of elements of being discorded, for want of a better word, and the theft of the cutie marks, obviously, like Tirek. Does that strike anyone else?
Yeah, now that you've pointed it out, that actually, wow, yeah, that's a really good summation of it, that it's almost like a conglomerate of the different of pieces of the different threats that they've faced before, and if they can defeat them individually when they're on a large scale, can they defeat them together if they're on small scale?
And it's also a matter of now other ponies are stepping forward to defeat these threats as well under Princess Twilight's leadership.
True.
So she's teaching them how to be independent but together. She is becoming Celestia.
And she's getting taller as well.
She is. I love that scene where she's standing next to what's it? Not Starlight Glimmer. Got to stop calling her Sunset Glimmer. I love the scene where she first meets her, and it's obvious that Twilight is ever so slightly taller. And Starlight Glimmer, she just looks like kind of pudgy and short compared to her, even though on her own she looks very impressive compared to the other ponies in her village. But next to Twilight, she doesn't look as special or as impressive. And it's almost like it's very subtle that Twilight is who Glimmer face person pony thing should be. Fucking names!
Starlight.
Twilight is the Nietzschean Ubermensch.
I will nod and say this because I don't really understand.
Didn't Twilight sort of like shrink once the kitty mark was gone?
Ooh, I didn't notice that.
Oh. Well, she still had her wing.
She seemed a bit smaller in stature. It might have been just the way she was standing without her magic.
They all lost some of their color.
The color, the confidence, it was all... She seemed diminished.
I think props do definitely have to go to the animation department for their portrayal of body language through a quadruped as well.
Yes, the facial expressions. When Fluttershy left the house the first time, she had little bags under her eyes.
It was also the stature, the stance and positioning as well, though. And Reverb, I think you have something?
I was going to add to that when we were talking about the animation and sort of like when they were taken underground from the store after Pinkie Pie ate all the muffins and they thought, oh god, we're going to be ambushed, and there's sort of that whole intense sort of march up of the ponies. And I thought that was really well done with the music and the atmosphere of that. And then I also loved the way they sort of came to and was like, oh, I love your cutie marks. I love all you guys. You all look fantastic.
Subversion of expectations.
Yeah, and it painted it really well, that sort of intensity of the moment.
It reminded me of the reveal of the Chimera in the in season 4 episode, with the use of shadow and light and how effective it could be. The animation team is quite stellar in really understated ways in this episode.
Goombasa?
This episode also introduced a new aspect of lore that I quite frankly can't wait for the fandom to start exploring. We were introduced to a new mage by Starlight Glimmer. It was not Star Swirl the Bearded, but it was apparently an enchanter who knew how to make really powerful enchanted objects.
It was a Meadowlark, right?
Meadowlark, yeah. And Twilight said, I've not studied Eastern unicorns as much as I should have. Boom, fandom, there you go.
Is anyone else looking forward for the other 8 enchanted items? Because it was 9 enchanted items that were mentioned.
It was 8, but she was faking the staff as being one of the items.
Because Twilight said she knew there were only 8.
It is a possibility that we will see these items later on, but that may not happen.
That might be what Twilight Ponyface is going to go off and find. She's run away and she's going to go and find the other 8 items. And
I like Ponyface.
Starlight.
I can't remember her name.
They're the increasingly funny nicknames. Starlight Glimmer.
Anti-Twilight. I'm calling her Anti-Twilight from now on because I can't remember.
And Twilight.
Should we just put her name in the chat so you can read it?
Do you want us to write it down for you?
No, I'm not a baby.
That would deprive us of her funny nicknames anyway.
If Anti-Twilight goes after the relics, is this going to become another Shaolin Showdown?
Oh, if you have the shouting Gong Yi Tenpai all the time. Gong Yi Pony!
I am completely lost.
Me too.
Well, you decided to mention the Ubermensch. I shall go off on one.
They do already have Tara Strong on staff.
I'm okay with a bit of a MacGuffin hunt, but I don't want the whole season to turn into a MacGuffin hunt.
Well, with only 8 items, they couldn't really.
They kind of almost half promised that last season with all the keys.
And it didn't take over.
No.
Not really.
So I think we can probably trust them.
No, so we know they can do it well, so...
And it's not like they gathered the staff at the end like it was any sort of item.
No, because that was a fake one.
Also, if they actually had them, I can't imagine they would have a fake one as well. I think it's going to be a throwaway sort of line.
Yeah, well, they've had a Star Swirl the Bearded on the table for centuries, and we really don't get much about him, and he doesn't play any big roles, so I could see it not happening.
Well, they did say that for episode 100, we're going to have a character that's been mentioned a lot and is going to be in it finally, and maybe we'll get some kind of explanation for Star Spiders while we're at it. You never know.
I can't see anything happening with Star Spiders.
Why did you have to bring up the fucking Star Spiders again?
Because the fucking Star Spiders need to be brought up.
Because, damn it, they're important.
If anything, in season 4, Star Spiders were probably just set up like, what was it? Wasn't there something else set up in a previous season that paid off in a later season?
It was, well, there's two of them. It was the beginning of season 3. We had the book that appeared at the end of season 3. But we also had in season 2, in Lesson 0, we had Cerberus appearing in the village. And that turned out to be important later on. Maybe retconned, probably retconned, almost certainly retconned, that Cerberus was guarding T-Rex and he got out during that time.
Which was actually quite brilliant if you look at it that way.
I believe in M.A. Larson.
Speaking of which, that little moment between where Spike was like, oh, Big Mac and I are going to watch Hoofball and all this sort of stuff. I was like, what?
There will be many fanfics of that.
Bring on the fanfics of Spike and Big Mac's Bro Weekend.
There's just going to be lots and lots of people who love football making it into fanfictions about hoofball. Yay, because I can't get enough sport in real life.
Heroic Review offers this challenge, Spike and Mac broing it out.
Here's a question. We've seen like limited technology in Equestria. We know they have newspapers. We know how they have cameras. But now, does this mean they have television too? And if so, how come we haven't seen it before?
Because Ponyville is a backwater hick town.
Goombasa?
Speaking of Spike and his love of hoofball, the humor was also really on point for these 2 episodes as well. And Spike is a perfect example of that because he was only there for basically the first scene, but he was one of the funniest parts of that episode. And then, of course, we had Pinkie Pie doing her deadpan thing. And even when she was just, every time I saw her, when she was examining the smiles, like she had a scowl on her face for a majority of the first episode, and it was great.
It was harkening back to Rainbow's birthday episode in season 4 with her wonderful expressions.
Also, I love the fact that she can truly pick when happiness is disingenuous.
I don't think you needed to be Pinkie Pie to spot something was wrong there.
But for the scriptwriters to make it her who said it, that was very appropriate.
Because, I mean, even though obviously they would all pick that, it's not as often that she would go against the crowd to say, there's something wrong with all of you. That isn't so much something that she would generally do.
Webshotter, you had something to say?
I was just going to say that, so we can basically agree that the writing for these first 2 episodes was really spot on, yes?
Definitely.
Yes, I couldn't see any real
Agreed.
problems with it.
All right, so
Who was the writer for these episodes, by the way?
I'd said script supervisor M.A. Larson, but I didn't catch who they actually wrote it. I sense a Megan McCarthy in here, but I might be wrong, so I'm not going to commit myself to that. It's strong character moments and a good Pinkie Pie. That usually is the hallmark of Megan McCarthy.
So it says here on the wiki that a story for part 1 was by Megan McCarthy, but the script was by Scott Sonnenborn and M.A. Larson.
Ah,
congrats to them.
Very good. M.A. Larson, he wasn't there last season, was he? He took a...
No, he was busy writing a novel.
I do have one minor complaint about the writing, if I may voice it quickly. I've never before, in one episode, said, damn it, Fluttershy, don't do that, so many times. And I don't want to because I like Fluttershy, but damn it, she's too nice.
It did pay off, though, because it was her being nice, but not being fully taken in. She wasn't ready to jump on board with it. She was just being nice to them. And her being nice did pay off because it allowed her to integrate, and that I think that worked out quite nicely myself.
Hashtag Flutterspy.
because she was just being polite, because that was the thing, that she wasn't... You're right, she wasn't buying into it. She just kept telling Rainbow Dash, be polite. They've been nice to us. They haven't done anything wrong. Just be polite to them.
Yeah, not saying it's bad writing, just saying that, damn it, Fluttershy.
The poor girl did climb up a chimney. Give us some slack.
Well, only one thing that the spell apparently took away their special abilities, but not their personalities, which was interesting in the fact that some of the townspeople managed to form a resistance movement in the face of it. I thought that was interesting.
Definitely, and I would like to take that as an opportunity to talk about probably my favourite character of the episode, Sugarbell.
Which one was Sugarbell?
She was the baker. She was the baker who wasn't a baker.
Yeah, I really liked her. I thought she was sweet.
Once again, it was a fantastic subversion of expectations because her sort of main introduction was her sort of slipping into the group. And I thought at first, okay, she's sort of spying on the group and trying to integrate herself. Because we had the big discussion between the main 6 while they were sitting there at that table. You just had her, wasn't even commented on really, but you just had her in the corner sort of grinning, that sinister grin. And then the questions she asked, I think the defining moment of the episode for me was the question, is your friendship ending?
Yeah, but she couldn't understand that
Yeah.
having a disagreement wasn't the end of a friendship, it was just a disagreement. And they said, we have disagreements all the time. We wouldn't let our friendship end over a single disagreement.
It does make you wonder just what some of these ponies went through to sort of adopt this worldview so wholeheartedly. Like, we saw that Sugar Bell and a few of the others, like Party Favor and Double Diamond, they were willing to get their cutie marks back, if only for a little bit. But it does make you wonder what happened to them before that made them adopt this philosophy in the first place.
I feel like they were made to adopt it, that they weren't doing it willingly.
No, I think there was some of it where it was a willing conversion that, at the very least, Double Diamond, he said, this is where I first met her. And she just talked to him and made him feel like this was a place where he could belong. A lot of them seem to be the case of they just wanted to feel like where they could be happy, and they wanted to be happy, which kind of implies that previously they weren't. And it can't really have been magic if what convinced them afterwards to not buy into her philosophy anymore was the reveal that her philosophy was built upon a lie.
True, and also to add to that, the one where, I forget his name, when Fluttershy came out and had to dob that other one in, and he went into the cage with the main six for the
Party Favor.
When he went in the cage for the entire night, he came out and he was begging to be back in the group. He was begging to be a part of the group again, to not to be left out, not to be the outcast. And I can imagine that even with their special talent, without friends, it's natural to sometimes be a slight outcast from a type of group. So I can imagine that could also be what caught them to go together, and it makes them feel scared to be individual again.
It may be this idea of, if this show is built upon teaching friendship lessons to young children, and for the most part they are better friendship lessons and more appropriate friendship lessons than sort of the friendship lessons you would get in the 1980s and 1990s cartoons, which were always very simple and predictable and weren't really applicable to real life friendships, which are really complicated. And maybe this was the show addressing this idea of, you can be lonely in a crowd and feel like you don't belong and want to seek out a crowd that is not necessarily good for you, but makes you feel like you are part of something and not alone anymore.
Let's have Greg, then Goombasa.
That's actually, as if I recall correctly, at the end of the two-parter, they did say, everyone in this town, which we still don't have a proper name for. Soviet Unicorn works for me, though. Anyway, everyone in this town was missing something. They felt like something was missing from their lives. So I do like to think that the Stepford Smilery cult thing isn't the magic so much as just, as we said earlier, Starlight Glimmer's personality, convincing them that what they needed, what they wanted was here in this nameless little town.
I'm surprised we haven't talked about this already, but what do we think of that really creepy song? We commented on the animation during it. We commented on things that happened during it, but we didn't really talk about the song proper, the lyrics, what it was trying to say.
I just like to say at the very beginning, wow, the vocabulary of the song, I was really impressed. Considering it's a show aimed at 6-year-old, the polysyllabic vocabulary in that was impressive.
There was one line of the song that really struck me as being pretty much the core of the episode. You can't have a nightmare if you can never dream.
That is a very chilling message, yes. And you can definitely tell that Starlight Glimmer is played by somebody who has had a lot of singing training. I'm trying to remember. They hyped it up to no end when they revealed her character, but I can't remember who it was that played her.
Kelly Sheridan.
Kelly Sheridan! Oh my goodness, Kelly Sheridan's also from the Ocean Group with Sam Vincent. She's the voice of Barbie from the Barbie movies.
Holy crap.
What?
And she was also Scarlet Witch in X-Men Evolution, and she was Hitomi in Escaflowne. There we go, my encyclopedic knowledge of voice acting.
You're a walking Wikipedia.
We're just getting the whole Ocean Group back together, aren't we?
We are. Someone please get Brad Swale. Get Brad Swale in there. Nightcrawler has got to be in X-Men Evolution. No, he's got to be in Pony. With the same accent. Let's have little German pony who's blue and has a forked tail.
And has problems teleporting everyone, can't figure out how to stop it.
She was also in G3 MLP.
With any luck, we might get another fantasy comic book episode, and your voice actor may be in there.
I would love it if MLP crossed over with X-Men Evolution.
I couldn't see how that could possibly work, but I want to see that as well.
I can't possibly see how it would go wrong.
God, I miss that show.
Have faith. I believe in M.A. Larson. He could do it.
Speaking of other shows, can I just take this point to mention what this episode really reminded me of? An episode of one of my favourite shows, but probably my least favourite episode of that show. It's an episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine called Paradise. Is anyone else familiar with that episode?
No.
No.
I think it got reviewed on SF Debris on Channel Awesome a little while ago.
Basically, it's season 2 of Deep Space Nine, where O'Brien and Sisko get stranded on a planet. And if you mention SF Debris, he passionately hates this episode, and I agree with him wholeheartedly, because O'Brien and Sisko get sort of taken in by this cult led by this pretty much sort of weird environmentalist philosopher called Elixus. And she sort of she's got this entire sort of brainwashed cult. And I was really hoping that they wouldn't do the same thing that this episode did, because in Paradise, it ends with them all deciding, oh no, we're happy being brainwashed and living this lie.
Thankfully, it didn't.
I can see why that would piss people off.
Well, if that did happen, they would have failed. They would have outright failed their first mission on their new
Dear
on their
Princess
new glowing
Diary,
map.
today we failed the first thing that Twilight tried to do with the Princess of Friendship. You might want to consider a different profession.
I'm going to try carving a library out of a new tree.
That actually points something out, Scribbler. We don't have a central hub for friendship lessons that has been introduced yet. Like we don't have any letters to Celestia. It looks like they stopped using the diary at the end of the 4th season. So
how much do they actually use the diary in the 4th season? Because I can remember about three
used
times.
it pretty much in every single episode, actually.
I don't remember. Maybe that was the ending of it then.
They can start carving it into the walls of the castle.
They showed it in the finale. It looked as if they'd filled the damn thing up.
If anything, they might start a second volume. For all we know, they may continue on with the journal.
Well, yeah. Well, now we can stop calling it MLP: The Adventures of Twilight Sparkle and Friends, because everybody's equal. Wait, no, that's a bad thing.
I'm wondering, though, with this new structure of the episodes, I'm wondering how we're going to have more individualized episodes.
It might be where the main 6, when they go off to villages, and one of them has to be the main instigator for motivating the ponies there to learn a friendship lesson.
True, except they'll still all be there. I'm talking more so the episodes.
Will they all be there?
They have already
I said spoilers.
given us... No, I'm not going to say any of them.
Spoilers.
But they have given us some episode names and some short, like, one-sentence synopses. And I can assure you there are some more standard slice of life episodes sprinkled in there.
Awesome.
And if anything, there might be a dual side episode where we see events take place in one place. What was it, like the games Pony plays and Just for Psychics, where one part of the group is in a different part of Equestria and another part's in a different part, but it takes place at the exact same time.
Yeah, maybe it only calls one pony at a time.
When they get little vibrations on their bums.
I don't think we should be talking about vibrations and bums on pony.
But their bums vibrated. It's a thing that happened. It's canon.
Moving
We must
swiftly
discuss
on.
it.
Ilya, you've been rather quiet. Is there anything else you'd particularly like to say you enjoyed about this episode?
Well, there's a point I'd like to make. I was wondering if by this point we might see that Twilight Sparkle had gained a great deal more power. Then she might be much more powerful than her friends because she's an Alicorn princess now, whether that confers anything or not. But she was able to have her cutie mark taken away rather easily, I thought, even for that.
Maybe, but there was that scene at the end where Glimmer, Sunset, Twilight Pony was about to laser blast, it looked like, the pony from the village who had broken up the jars of cutie marks, and Twilight appeared and just absolutely bombed her, and she created that shield that completely blocked a spell that Glimmer Pony Purple Thing had said she'd spent years learning.
Yeah, I was happy to see that.
I would also like to say the effect of that shield was really, really cool.
Again, massive props to the animation department.
DHX, you did good.
I would like to say that for the record, I am not obsessed with vibrating pony butts.
That's going to be the tagline for this episode. Officially confirmed on Heroic Review. Greg, not obsessed with vibrating pony butts.
Did anyone get chills watching the episode, or did anyone see the red flags pop up before a lot of the stuff even happened? Or was it completely unexpected throughout the whole thing?
I wouldn't say I got chills or that things happened that I didn't expect, but I was incredibly invested in what was happening. And I don't think I've ever really felt super invested in any of the season openers since the introduction of Discord.
Personally, I thought they set up a really deliciously sinister atmosphere throughout the whole thing, and it was quite clear to me that something was very wrong. But yes, Greg, I think you had something?
In response to his question, I think it's a story we've all seen before with the cult, the brainwashed town, But I think while it wasn't anything new, they did the atmosphere and the tension very well. So that was very good.
That could be said of a lot of Pony, that it doesn't always use original ideas, but it does them better.
And on a more personal level. Well, as Webshot mentioned before about whether or not things sort of were easy to recognise about when they were coming, the point around where Fluttershy got let out and obviously Starlight was trying to put her on the spot to dob the other ones in, and then that whole area, and when it got cut to ads, that sort of part I genuinely didn't really know what was going to happen, and when the main six came back out, if they were all going to start to pretend that they were fine, or except they were just very much sticking to their guns, saying, nope, you've all got problems. There was a few parts of that where the Act 2, I suppose, I thought was a bit unpredictable about exactly how it was going to go down, which I thought was good.
I think Fluttershy's dilemma was there wasn't really a definitive right thing that she was expected to do.
No, and the other pony actually took that decision away from her by owning up himself, which I would have been interested to see if he hadn't done that, what Fluttershy would have done.
It's a genuine moral dilemma, which we don't get much of in children's television. Scribbler?
I would just want to say that I was making predictions all the way through this, and generally most of them were wrong. That I was trying and saying out loud and trying to predict what was going to happen, and all the story making decisions I predicted, most of them weren't the ones that the show went with, which I can only commend the show for, because it really did keep me on my toes, that I didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah, I was just going to say the whole episode seemed pretty well telegraphed to me, and my tingle moment came when the OC ponies stood up and took charge. I wasn't expecting that. That one really thrilled me.
Oh, we should commend the writers for going that way, because it's a brave direction to take the story in, and it's one that worked extremely well. Yeah, is there anything else, any other major issues people want to raise quickly?
Welcome to Soviet Unicorn.
Well, before we close off, I do want to ask, because it is the season opener, what are people's biggest hopes for season 5? What do people want to see? Goombasa?
Well, this opener set the bar really, really high. So I'm really hoping that I'm really hoping to see more of Equestria, like they have been saying. I'm interested to see how the map is going to be integrated, how they're going to mix sort of these little adventures that each of the pony is going to have with the more traditional slice of life episodes. And lastly, the biggest thing I want to see is, please let the Crusaders get their cutie marks, please.
Indeed.
Yes, please.
Yes. Scribbler?
I like the idea of background ponies finally getting some attention, and since without giving spoilers for later episodes, there's one scene from a teaser trailer with Sweetie Belle on a stage, and there's a couple of ponies in that minuscule little nanosecond of footage that I wanted to see, even though it was probably going to put me out of a voice acting job. But there's lots of different background ponies that they said they're going to have background ponies take the foreground. I would like, even if they don't talk, to see some of the background ponies that the fandom is attached to get some attention. In fact, I hope they don't talk, but I still want them to do stuff.
Well, they've got to market the toys, new toys somehow. Greg, what do you hope for the season?
Pretty much what's been said. More new areas, new cultures, new locales, and new ponies.
Reverb?
I was actually initially a little worried at the start of this, the way it was set up, that I don't want the show to lose the really homely slice of life, sticking to Ponyville, one or two characters having strong natural dilemmas with each other. I thought season 4 was a little too epic for me, a little too over the top with different things that were going on. I kind of missed the more season 2, more down to earth dilemmas at home sort of thing, and I hope we see a few more of those and that it's not massive big world adventures all the time.
Well, we'll have to see how often that map gets used then. Webshotter?
I would like to see world building for one. That's already been pretty much promised, but I would like to see maybe like a re-trip back to Manhattan to go see Coco Pamel, see how she's doing, and if anything, see how she has put the lessons that she learned from Rarity into effect. And also, I would like to see Trixie, Zecora, a few of the characters we haven't seen in a while. I want to see them again and see what's changed from the last time we've seen them. Because, for example, in season 4, we saw Zecora only once, and she got chased out of the Everfree Forest. I would like to see if we got like a story build off of her, to to see like Zebrica or whatever Equestria version of Africa that is.
And Illya?
Anyone who knows me knows that I love the female villains. I'd like to see more of Gilda and Chrysalis if possible, and Trixie, of course. So that's just personal, though.
Or maybe they'll end up in the Badlands and they'll find Chrysalis.
Gilda coming back would be a good thing.
Well, everyone knows I want to see more Griffins.
That is going to happen. That is going to happen.
Good.
We hope.
I kind of want canonical hippogriffs.
Ooh, yes.
Silver Quill would not be happy. He likes being unique.
I think that's everything we need to say about this episode. Thank you to everyone for joining me in this discussion. And let's say goodbye from Goombasa.
Goodbye, everybody.
Greg.
Long days and pleasant nights, lovely listeners.
Webshotter.
Have yourselves a great day and see you in the future.
And from the Recluse of Romance.
Long live Soviet Unicorn. I will bomb you, BrainedbySaucepans. I will find you and I will kill you.
Yay, more ponies. Bring on the rest of season 5.
You will die.
And that.
Illya.
Have a fantastic day.
This has been your heroic review of episode 1 of season 5, the Cutie Map. Join us next time and be wonderful, people.
Oh, Soviet Unicorn has declared war on BrainedbySaucepans. Tune in next week, lovely people.